Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build and part 2 of this old town restaurant. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to call this build, but something along those lines. Hopefully you guys did enjoy part 1. I'm actually recording this right afterwards, so hopefully I'm not too repetitive, but I mean it is the same build, so I'm sure I will be a little bit. But yeah, part 1 was the entire exterior and the floor plans to each of these 3 buildings. And then this part is going to be all of the interiors. And I absolutely love the way the interiors turned out. I think they're so pretty and just like, I don't know, they have the feeling and like the vibe that I was wanting to go for, so that made me really happy. The first one that I'm decorating is obviously the bar area. This one was a bit difficult, mostly because of the size and shape of this building and this room in general. Like placing a bar in here was kind of challenging, but I think I made it work. And yeah, I like the colors that I went for. I tried to make it feel different than the other bar that I've built in the Old Town area, because in case you guys aren't familiar with my other speed builds in Windenburg or not familiar with my save file, then maybe you don't know, but the other bar is more of just like a pub. This one might kind of feel like a pub too, I'm not really sure, but that one has like a bunch of decorations up on the wall. It's really cluttered and detailed and more for like younger people, and maybe not for like dates. It's more for like friends going to hang out and like play darts and foosball and those types of things. And this one I wanted it to feel a little bit fancier. I'm not sure if it does, but yeah, I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I think the black and gold is actually really fun, and like all the different gray colors. I think it's very different because it's not like the warm wood that I used in the other bar. I did use a lot of warm wood in the restaurant because if you guys did miss part 1, this build consists of 3 different buildings. That's like my favorite way to build community lots in The Sims, because I think you just get so much more use out of them. Even if part of the build really isn't functional, I feel like it's still useful for like screenshots and like storytelling. And you can always switch in between the different lot types if you really want to. The only other lot types that this one could be is a bar or a retail store. I'm having it run as a restaurant because that's the main feature of this build, but you could potentially switch it in between those ones if you want to. The only problem with switching it in between a retail store and other community lots is you have to like do that through I think through just the build menu. Like you can't actually be playing in game and go to the icon and change it while you're currently playing on the lot. I think you have to go to the main screen, go into build mode and then change it and then go back into playing, and it just doesn't really work that well. But switching in between pretty much all other community lots works perfectly fine. So yeah, hopefully it works for your guys' gameplay, but I'm very excited to add this into my save file because it's the last build here in the Old Town Square. And now that I finished this one, I only have one other lot to do here in the Old Town of Windenburg, which I'm very excited about. And that one is the house where the party household lives. I actually moved them to the more modern downtown area by the waterfront. Yeah, I moved them over there into some townhouses, and I'm going to bulldoze their original house. And my plan, like I mentioned in the first part, is to build something like an old cathedral that's a museum. So I think that'll be absolutely perfect for this world and feel really realistic, at least in my opinion. Like I think it makes sense with Windenburg, and so hopefully you guys will like that, and hopefully I can find the right inspiration to make it happen. But for now, I'm so happy that I found the inspiration for this build, because this is another one that I've been wanting to build for such a long time. And in the first part, I couldn't find a reference picture, or the reference picture that I was using. I still haven't managed to find it, but I did find another picture that is very similar to it. It's actually the original actual building in real life. And so I was really happy to be able to find that, so I'll put it up here on screen. The picture that I was looking at, I think, was like an artist rendering of it, but I can't seem to find it anywhere, which is really unfortunate because that was the one that I was actually looking at. But either way, I had no idea that this was a real place, and hopefully someday I can go here because I think the turret with the green roof is so pretty, and really just the architecture in that part of the world to me is really beautiful, and I hope to see more of it in my life. I have been to France before, which is where this original building is, where just the restaurant portion of the building is based off of that one. The rest of the build is just kind of made up by me, but I would still love to see it. And I would love to go to Germany too, and see more buildings that are in this like Tudor style, and other parts of France and stuff that have the same style as well, because I think it's just really pretty. But either way, here you can see I'm decorating the tops of the tables. I wanted there to be a couple of candles, so I used the candles from the Eco Lifestyle pack, and then I put some menus, and I tried to keep the bar as minimally decorated as I possibly could. I didn't want it to be too cluttered and too overly decorated. I wanted it to be kind of simpler, just to give it a different style than the other bar, like I was saying. So I think I achieved that. And like I was talking about in the first part, so this building is going to run as a restaurant, and it functions perfectly. I played for a lot of Sims days, and I was really like enjoying it. I think it's a lot of fun. The only issue I had is that the waiters and waitresses do walk over to the bar and seat people like they're sitting at the restaurant. So it doesn't make them feel like they're necessarily separate buildings like I would like them to. But on the plus side, it does make the build feel more lively and more interactive. Like Sims are actually, I don't know, just have more to do, and there's just a lot more going on, and it makes the build just feel just more lively, I guess is the best way to describe it. And so I'm not too upset about it. One of the things that was bothering me though is children would sit with their families inside the bar, which might not be that big of a deal. Maybe that's like a cultural thing with like Windenburg compared to like other towns, and so maybe it would kind of make sense for this particular lot. So I wasn't too worried about it, but it was just something that kind of bothered me a little bit. But either way, I think you could fix it if you didn't actually have tables and chairs. If you did like maybe side tables and like lounge chairs or something, I think that would be a way around it. But like I said, I played for several Sims days and I had so much fun, so it's probably not that big of a deal, but I thought since it was something that bothered me, I would mention it to you guys. So if you decide to download this, or if you decide to get the updated version of my save file, then you kind of are aware of those things that I thought were problems. But yeah, it's probably not that big of a deal. Either way, here I am working on the middle store. So on the end, there's the restaurant and the bar, and then in between is a cute little woodworking store, which I thought would be so cute. It's not meant to really be functional. There is a cash register in here, so like I was saying earlier, if you want to switch it to a retail lot, you totally could, but it really is not supposed to be like the main focus of the building. I just wanted it to just kind of be cute and just sit here, and you guys can pretend that a woodworker is in here and you can watch them through the window. And if you have a Sim that suits this type of personality, maybe you could have them travel to this lot and pretend like they're working here. And I think that would be so cute. But I tried to find things that I thought looked handcrafted or are actually handcrafted on the woodworking table. So I used a lot of the violins, and there's some guitars, and then there's also these clocks, which I thought was pretty cool. So it's kind of like maybe a clockmaker too. And then also I used some birdhouses, and then the wooden statues, and basically as many things as I possibly could. And I think it's so adorable. I'm like really pleased with it, because at first I'm like, is it gonna feel a little bit awkward? Like, is it gonna feel like a store? Because I really wasn't sure how to lay out like the furniture and the decorations to make it feel kind of realistic. And I'm not sure if it does. I tried my best. I really wanted to use that wooden chair, but I ended up deleting it because when I was playtesting it, Sims were sitting there and I sized it down. And so when they were sitting in it, it just looked a little bit strange because they were kind of hovering in the air. And I didn't really think it made sense for them to go in there and just sit in this random wood chair inside of a store. I mean, maybe it makes sense. Maybe they're trying it out. Maybe they'd like to buy it. So you could easily replace it if you want to, but I think I just put some like boxes there instead in its place. But yeah, this is it for the little wooden store. I think it's so adorable. I'm like really pleased that I came up with this idea, because I think it just suits this world, and it filled in the space really nicely. Because originally I was going to make this just the, what do you call it? The kitchen. My goodness, why can't I think of the word kitchen? I was gonna make it the kitchen to the restaurant, and I think that would function actually really nicely, because then the waiters and waitresses could probably pass through the bar and into the restaurant really easily if it was, but I think it just worked out so nicely because it's so cute and charming in my opinion that it's totally worth the waiters and waitresses needing to walk outside to get to the bar. So it doesn't bother me too much, but either way, here I am moving on to the actual restaurant portion of the build. And in the restaurant, I wanted it to feel very, just really warm, basically. It's like the look I wanted to go for. So I used a lot of like rich wood colors and like just warmer wood tones and warmer like cream colors, I guess. And I also wanted it to feel a little bit fancier too. Like I really wanted this restaurant to feel like a place you would go on like a nice date, or like a kind of a fancier lunch, maybe with like business partners or with like your friends, where you want to like dress up and go somewhere. So it's not like a super casual place, but I didn't change the outfit requirements, by the way. I don't think this is like a formal place, but I did want it to feel a little bit more upscale with the decoration. So hopefully I achieved that, but I didn't think it was a place you would like wear a ball gown to, definitely. But here I'm decorating the entryway to the restaurant. There's actually kind of two entryways because the way I did the doors, but this is where the hostess is going to be, obviously. And I think those pictures that came with the Get Together expansion pack actually worked really well for the wall decorations leading up the staircase. So I was pretty happy about that. But over here is going to be the downstairs bathroom. And so it's just a simple little bathroom just to fill in the space. If you did watch the first part, you may have noticed that I tried placing a like a bay window seat. I thought it'd be nice to have a little seating area. So if you prefer that, I think it would fill in the space nicely, but I figured another bathroom honestly wouldn't hurt. There is two above the woodworking store that you access through the bar. I'm sure you guys probably noticed that. And so there's two over there, and then one here, and then two others upstairs. So it's kind of a lot of bathrooms. So it may not be necessary to have another one over here, but I thought it worked pretty well. And then here is just kind of like the waiter's cleanup station. So I have a couple of the little the carts where they can put dishes away and all that kind of stuff. And I tried to decorate the hallway as best as I could. I did that mirror and picture frame trick. The picture is from the Vampires game pack, and then the mirrors I think came with Spa Day, if I remember correctly. But either way, that's an old trick that I've been doing for a long time that I learned from Hey Harry, which she's an amazing builder. Always recommend her channel, and it's like a really smart trick that I learned from her because it looks so good. But here I'm decorating the kitchen. The kitchen is pretty simple. I didn't want it to be overly cramped, but of course I wanted it to be fully decorated, and there are two chef stations in here, which I was really happy about because I don't think one would be enough. I'm not sure if you add more if you get a chef every time you place a chef station. Let me know if that's the case, but I figured two would be plenty, and as I was playtesting it, it seemed to work perfectly fine. My sim was able to get her food pretty quickly. So it didn't seem to be a problem. I mean, restaurants don't run absolutely perfectly in the game, but for restaurants in The Sims 4, I think it worked really well. But here I'm moving on to the second floor. So there are 3 stories here in the restaurant portion of this build, and I wanted to do that because I really wanted great views of Windenburg because it's so beautiful, and there's so much detail off in the distance with all of like the extra city around and like the mountains and the trees. It's just so decorated that I wanted your Sims to have like really great views. But screenshots unfortunately are kind of difficult because the higher you get on a build, the camera goes crazy. But if you're really patient, you can make it work and you can get really good pictures, but it's kind of challenging because the camera moves so fast when you're up high, so it's kind of difficult. But either way, I'm using tables and chairs that came with the Get Together expansion pack because they really fit the style that I'm going for. And then on the tables, I wanted there to be a lamp, so I'm using this lamp that came with the Discovery University pack, and then some flowers and a menu. And I wanted to use the lamp because I wanted it to have that kind of romantic vibe, and I think it gives it that. And none of the tables seem to be blocked. All of the Sims seem to have no problem eating their meals, so hopefully you guys won't run into any issues with the tables being too crowded. But I tried to refrain myself from adding too many decorations, but I think those 3 are just enough to make it feel decorated and give the vibe that I wanted it to have. But over here I'm decorating a side table, and I think that looks really nice. It's just kind of, yeah, it's symmetrical. It's very symmetrical, but I think it looks really good. And a lot of the artwork that I'm using is base game, but I'm using some pieces from Cats and Dogs, and then of course Get Together too. So I think that worked pretty well. I actually was really happy with the artwork that I was finding in game for this restaurant, but we have a lot of traditional artwork, so it's not as hard as doing like a modern home that would have modern artwork. So found it to work out pretty well. But here I'm just adding some decorations to the tables on the balcony. The only difference is I added candles instead of the table lamps, so I thought that worked pretty well. And then up here is going to be a couple of extra bathrooms. So like I was saying, there's a lot of bathrooms in this build, but also, like I was saying in the first part, I wasn't originally planning on putting bathrooms here, but the roof from the turret was poking through, and so I kind of had to put rooms around it to cover it up. But now that I decorated it, I think it looks so good, and I'm actually really pleased with the way it turned out, because I think it kind of makes sense, especially when I end up decorating this little part here. I was going to put a table and chair, but then I was like, oh, this doesn't really look as good as I wanted to. It felt kind of cramped and kind of secluded, which may work for some Sims, you know, who want like a bit more privacy. But for me, I don't know, it didn't work. So I ended up putting a couple of waiter stations there, and I think that worked so much better, and it looks so much better in my opinion. So I'm really happy about that. But either way, here I'm just adding a few more decorations, and then I do switch up that area like I was talking about and adding those waiter stations, and then I do add some lights to the exterior just to make sure all of the final few details are added that I think are necessary, basically. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this build, and yeah, I'll have the first part linked in the description, so in case you guys missed it, you can find it really easily. And I highly recommend that you check it out, because I really like the exterior of this building. I think it turned out to be really pretty. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the interior. We are coming up on the screenshots, so hopefully you guys will enjoy those as well. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions you have, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!